And up next we have Tabitha Biehl. Sorry, it's usually on the front. Tabitha Biehl talking about Nature Explore classrooms. Oh, you don't need this.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here to talk to you about Nature Explore outdoor classrooms. It's one of the many different ways we're trying to reach not necessarily a different audience, but after a couple of years of managing our nature center at Circle B Bar Reserve, Polk's Nature Discovery Center, we started to see that there was this gap that we were missing, and it was the younger youth, the pre-K, the lower elementary. We have a great partnership at our Nature Center with the school board. They currently actually have 2 full-time teachers that work out of our Nature Center. They're dedicated there. They're there every day. We also have a school bus. We go pick up the kids, but that's 7th grade. And after watching 7th graders come out to our setting, it's about 1,000 acres, 1,267 if anyone wants exact. After watching them come out, these teachers are struggling to get them in the field because the 7th graders have already been disconnected from nature. And so that's why this Nature Explore outdoor classroom, sort of when we saw it, we're like, this could be something that would really fill that gap. So Nature Explore is actually a partnership between the Arbor Day Foundation and the Dimensions Research Foundation. And go to natureexplore.org. That website is wonderful. If we have time, we may even jump over there. But to back up, as many of you know, the problem is that children are growing up disconnected from nature. This is a photo of our summer camp this summer. These are about 2nd, 3rd graders. And this stretch of wild nature, if for those of you biologists will laugh, this is an area that's not been mowed for probably about 3 months, and that's wild nature to the kids, extend from here to the first set of tables. We purposely don't mow it for summer camp because we want the kids to get rid of some of those insecurities of going off the path in a safe setting at the same time. So these kids, I will tell you, we did surveys with them. One of their favorite part was walking off the trail into the woods. And it was this very short segment. So this is a problem, that they don't have these opportunities. One reason is because they're occupied with the TV, video games. They don't have the access to green space like we did. How many of you grew up in an agricultural setting growing up? Or had a park nearby that you would go, or stream, or a neighbor's woods you would trespass into? Exactly, that was being a part of a kid. These kids grow up with concrete surrounded around them, and they're told to stay inside. There's all these stranger danger, which is it is a true danger that our kids are growing up with today. Instead of the sense of community like we grew up in, is you could go outside, and if you did something wrong, the neighbor was going to spank you just like your parents were going to spank you. Now you're scared of the neighbors. So it's just a very different climate. Also, this is one that was not something that I thought of before I went through this training, was that there was a frightening media view of nature. And I guess since it's always been so comfortable to me, when this was brought up, I was like, really? And I started thinking about it. But kids actually are developing biophobia, the fear of the outdoors. And getting dirty, which is a fun thing in my house, because I will say I'm a mother of a 2- and 4-year-old, so this is near to my heart. My child actually cried the other day, because he's 4. He stepped out into muck, and he got his shoes dirty. And he started, Mommy, I got my shoes dirty. I don't want to get in trouble. And he starts getting upset. I just took the muck and wiped it all over him. No kid of mine is going to be upset about being dirty. Let's get dirtier. But it's true. And so it's not that they're just getting it at the home. They're getting it in a lot of different areas. They're getting it daycare. They're getting it from watching other families and how they interact as well. So this was the big shock to me, is that 53% of pre-K to kindergarten kids used words of fear and dislike when they were asked to describe things about nature. And at first I was like, oh yeah, this is a trick question. They asked them about snakes and spiders and all that kind of stuff. No, actually, they were asking them to describe butterflies and birds and the rain. And they were still using words of fear and discomfort. Well, one of those reasons, unfortunately, is a lot of people are like I am. My kids spend the majority of their time, 12,000 hours in their early years, in a daycare setting. And a lot of those settings are like this, are concrete with fences. They don't have those nature even in the daycare settings. So it's another challenge. The consequences, these are real, and I don't think it's a surprise, is that children from ages 6 to 11 have risen obesity rates up to 16% since 71. Even more so is that number of children on medications for ADHD has increased. It was 50,000 in 1960 and now 6 million in 2003. To me, that's shocking. And there's research to back up why these things are happening. Kids need those outlets. They need the unstructured play. So what does nature do? Nature helps children provide powers of observation and creativity. But more so, it's them engaging it on their own. It's not from a teacher standing there saying, take the block and put it over here. When they're allowed to explore nature in an unstructured setting, they're watching, they're making those cause and reactions on their own. So they are getting to explore and do inferences on their own set. So it enhances observation, cognitive fatigue is lowered. I noticed this much with my children. My 2-year-old, she could sit and color all day long. She's focused. She's going to be a doctor or surgeon or something, something like that. My son has my personality. I feel for him because we're constantly going in circles. And his attitude and his behavior is a big change. If we go out in the morning and spend those couple hours first thing in the morning outside playing, exploring the trees and the grass, he's calm, he's more focused the rest of the day. So it's really easy to see in kids. Now, the other part of this that the research has shown is it's not just the kids spending the time outdoors, because let's face it, that would be a little scary in some situations, like when the water moccasin comes up the driveway, or, just little things like that might happen at your house. So there should be a nurturing adult that is observing. And that's a big key to the Nature Explorer classrooms. Adult doesn't have to be a parent. It could be a teacher. It could be a volunteer at your staff. It could be all those things. But that is one component of the outdoor classrooms they saw was a big component. So how do you go about designing one of these outdoor classrooms? Well, we were lucky. I'm one of those going in circle kind of people's, always looking for what new fun thing can we get involved with, because I have already a list of this that I'm trying to finish. Just something new, fun to do. I came across the Nature Explorer website, and it said, we'll come to your place and do a design workshop. I'm like, sweet, because I know how much it costs to design things, because we just went through the design of the Nature Center, through phase 1 of the exhibits, phase 2 of the exhibits, and I'm thinking, God, this is going to be expensive. And then they're like, no, we'll come in and we'll design an outdoor classroom. And it's really a great process, because they have research tested this, and they're taking these outdoor classrooms all over the United States and implementing these 10 guiding principles. Now, some of these I'm going to go through fairly quickly because some are just like, yeah, whatever. But the big thing is it's a mix of activity areas where the kids can go and not be isolated, but they can be in their own individual activity centers scattered in an area. So you may have a nature area, a music area, a dirt digging area. So they'll have these areas where they can explore. So you want a mix of activities. You want to name those areas. And the one thing that was sort of like duh when they came to instruct us is that you want to have photographs of how to use the area. So you want to have a photograph of a kid exploring the area with the nurturing adult nearby and how that nurturing adult can interact too, so that they can see very well how to use the space. And then, of course, use your local resources, use your local plant sources, local materials, anything that is meaningful to you and your center, and incorporate that into the area as well. Now, here's some of the recommended activity areas. This will make a little bit more sense when I show you the lovely sketch coming up. But you want an entry area, so it's a designated space, because these spaces can be designed to be open to the public as people just come and go. Can be designed also for a classroom. So you could have up to 60 students, 30 students coming. So you want to designate an area where everybody comes. Then you want to have gathering areas of where they want to go in those areas. So these are some of the ideas: climbing, crawling, messy materials, nature art, music, a garden, storage. And then supplemental areas, which are those sort of extras, like a water area. Oh, I should notice, if you're noticing this face multiple times, that's the 4-year-old. Yes, he digs dirt now, because Mom covered him in it. But dirt digging areas, sand area, other kind of areas. So the design process went like this for us. As you invite the Nature Explorer group down, they come with an educator who is wonderful. She's been doing this for over like 20 years. And also a licensed architect. No, landscape architect. There we go, forgot a key part in that. We spent one day brainstorming, going through the guiding principles, them learning a little bit more of our site. Overnight, that how many of you worked with a landscape architect before? They don't sleep. They work until 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm telling you. And she did. She worked until 4 o'clock in the morning. It came back to us on day 2 with a black and white drawing. She had sketched our outdoor classroom in one day. So this is the area that was proposed for our outdoor classroom at Circle B Bar Reserve and Polk's Nature Discovery Center. Now, one great thing about this is they bring it to you with all the things that they've used in the past, and then you can customize it to work more for your area. Now, how do you implement a classroom of this space? Because that's all they give you is the design. They leave you with a source book of materials you can buy from them, or you can go some other routes like we've been doing. We're enlisting Eagle Scouts. Each of those activity areas are great Eagle Scout projects. So each one of them are going to be fished out that way. Phase it. Use local products. I'm going to skip over that. So coming to Center Junior. This is the area that it looks like now. It's just outside the Nature Center. We wanted to keep it close for those younger youth with the restroom situation. So you can see we have nice shade, but it's just basically a old hammock. And so this is our final design with the outdoor classroom. As you come in, there's the entry area. It's labeled A. And then B is the gathering area. So ours is designed to be able to hold two sets of classroom, because typically we have 120 third graders show up at one time. This will enable for 60 of them to spend time in the outdoor classroom, the other 60 to split up on the trails or be given a program at the same time. We have a music area. We have those little pathways, our pollinator pathways, so they'll be able to go through, watch wildflowers and insects pollinating, nature art, a building area. These are just usually, and the other big part of this is using natural materials. So instead of giving them metal and plastic, they'll be using cypress wood that is leftover pieces from another project we had. So they'll be blending with natural materials. A water area. Think about it. Where do you learn how water works? Well, we learned in streams. I did. Getting in the streams, putting the rocks in there, how it diverts direction. Well, that's what we're trying to set up here in this little station, is they'll be able to modify how the water is traveling down those little boards. We do have a dirt digging area, because it's very important. I cannot tell you the amount of kids we've had come out that don't want to sit on the ground, let alone dig in the dirt. And the last place I want to point out is the letter J up there. It's messy materials. This is why I talk about modifying it for your particular area. It's very arbor, tree related, so we are a little bit more diverse, and we wanted to bring the wildlife aspect in it with the pollinators pathway. Well, that's an eagle's nest. We're going to build like a life-size eagle's nest on the ground, queen-size mattress. And the kids will be able to continuously come and refurbish the eagle's nest with branches and things from the area, Spanish moss from the area, and they'll be able to sit in the nest and get that feeling. I'll point out one last place. Letter H is a climbing area. And everything, remember, has to fit to regulations. So you can't go over 18 inches, I believe it is, at the highest point. But you're working with pre-K. So 18 inches is like a mountain. So you just go up 2 or 3 inches at a time. That's giving them that sense of feeling they're in a different place, a different view. And the great thing is the website has all these programs that you can actually use that are following state standards, national standards as well. You can use in these areas to give them things. When they came down, they also did an educator's workshop for us. So that night, while the landscape architect was off, we stayed there, and we played with some of the materials that occur in these areas. And what was given to us was the challenge to go and mimic the life cycle of a butterfly. You got to choose what area you went into. Music, building blocks, nature art. And it was really interesting because you feel like a kid again. I'm playing with pine cones and seeds and all these odd shapes. And together as a team, we got to create the life cycle of a butterfly. So it's basically just taking some really simple things that sometimes we overlook because we're trying to be so advanced, and bringing it back to the youth so they can gain those connections and get connected back to the outdoors. So with that, if anyone has any questions. Oh, good. I'm so good. Oh, and I'm supposed to announce something too. On December 5th and 6th, we're having a public interest and conflict management meeting at Polk's Nature Discovery Center. It's being hosted by Charlotte Harbor National Estuary Program. We'd love to have everybody come up. It gives you a great excuse to come up to Polk County and see the reserve in the center, and it's also a great workshop. Okay, that was my plug for Moran. Yes, and an evening tram tour. Bring bug spray, no.
Hope it's a full moon.
Yeah.
I'm Judy Ott with Charlotte Harbor NAP. My question relates your programs for the pre-K and how it must, well, my first thought was that there's applicable to adults too, but the concept of teaching the adults through the kids programs, because the kids bring their adults.
Yeah.
Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, let me see. It is a great way, and it's part of the learning what we went through the Nature Center is what grade level we ended up with or what our visitors ended up being with. And it was amazing to us the number of families. I mean, that's the number one thing that comes out is families. It's either parents with the little kids or grandparents with the little kids, and they're constantly out during the week and on the weekends as well. And right now, everything was more for a middle school kind of grade level, and so it was missing, and they just come in and play, and then they go kind of thing. So this really will help them expose the little ones to showing the adults it's not that bad. One thing that we have to be aware of is that the parents, I'm not that old, the parents a little bit younger than me, because the ones that are in their early 20s have already been disconnected. And so it is a challenge that when they're bringing their youth out, they're the ones being, don't touch that, don't get dirty. And you're like, just go ahead. So there will be a little bit of a learning curve just from that, getting rid of that biophobia with those younger adults. But it's amazing, the generation above me and my generation, they really thrive in these kind of settings and stuff. So they just need the opportunities to provide these to the younger youth at this time. So there's a little two-sided to that we'll have to deal with.
Brooke Elias, Sarasota County. So you work for Polk County government, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So was this a grant, or what is it? Where did all the funding come from, these two foundations?
We did not pay full price to bring the group down to do the workshop. Through my restrictions of procurement, I sort of have a guideline that I have to stay under to do certain things. And so they did some in-house contributions to be able to meet those restrictions and stuff. So it comes from our environmental lands program. The management of the nature center and the property comes from our environmental lands program management fund. So in the big sense, that's where our funding comes from. We do a lot of grants, and this has been something we've looked at, possibly doing grants for the construction and implementation of. But with the Eagle Scouts projects constantly coming in, I think we'll be able to do it this way.
Well, thank you so much, Tabitha. It was wonderful.